let me back up a sec. You ever have one of those moments where your whole life splits in half, and you don't even realize it till later? That was me, 5 years ago, standing on the back patio of a little brick house outside El Paso, thinking I'd finally found peace. I'd just retired early after years in civil surveying, bought myself a one-story place tucked into the scrubby hills, figured it was quiet, private, a spot to just be, you know? Back then, the backyard was nothing much, just a rocky incline, wild and overgrown, hemmed in by an old concrete fence that looked like it had been dropped there and forgotten back in the Reagan era. I never gave it much thought. The land was cheap, and I figured maybe one day I'd do something with it. But, truth be told, for 5 years I just let it be, never really wondered where my property ended. That fence seemed like the line. Why question it? I had no reason to. And then, last spring, I hired a solar company to put panels on my roof. The technician, kid with an attitude and a laser pointer, squints at his tablet, then goes, "Hey, did you know your lot actually runs 60 feet past your rear fence?" I'm standing there with a coffee, blinking like he just started speaking in Morse code. "Check the county GIS site," he says, like he's telling me how to Google the weather. That night, I did. Pulled up the new digital maps the county had rolled out. And sure enough, my deed, the survey markers, everything, all showed my land stretching deep into that scrubby slope. Turns out, the previous owner had botched the fence line by a country mile. I was sitting on 60 feet of extra land, just marinating out there in the Texas sun. So next day, I do what any former surveyor would do, call in a licensed land guy, boots, rods, and all, and have him walk it. He maps it down to the inch. No question, the whole wild slope is mine. I file the paperwork, update the county, and suddenly, after 5 years, I have a backyard worth showing off. Now, this is the part where most folks would just let it be. Not me. I turned that ragged slope into a project. Tore down the fence, cleared the brush, filed every permit, did everything by the book. Over months, I built out garden beds, put in a cedar pergola strung with lights, added a grill, even set a fire pit and an above-ground pool rimmed with polished wood, all wrapped in desert plants that looked like art under the moon. It got to the point where friends would come by and say, "Damn, Lane, this is like a resort." I was proud because I did it legal and because it was mine. But you ever notice, when things start looking too good, trouble's not far behind? The first sign was a woman I'd never met, standing up the hill at dusk during a little barbecue with friends. She had that HOA aura, arms crossed, hair perfect, judging the world from her porch. Didn't wave, didn't smile. Just glared, turned, and walked off, her porch light snapping on like a warning. Didn't think much of it. My place was never part of the Sunrest Villas HOA. Their boundaries stopped well before the terrain sloped down to my lot. Still, you could feel it, the way she stared, like she was sizing me up for a fight I didn't even know I was in. But that night was the last peaceful one I'd have for a long, long time. The next morning, I'm jolted awake by a sound I hadn't heard since Iraq. Heavy, low, mechanical, grinding. 6:15 a.m., sun barely up. I run outside barefoot, and what do I see? A bulldozer, bright yellow, halfway through the pergola I built with my own hands, gravel flying, lights torn down. Crew in reflective vests moving like they're on a deadline, tearing up my yard. I'm shouting, "What the hell do you think you're doing?" Big guy with a clipboard says, "Authorization from Sunrest Villas HOA. These structures are illegal." I snap back, "I'm not even in your HOA." He shrugs, just following orders. And there she is, Karen, president of the HOA, standing with her arms crossed like she's directing traffic. "You think you can just annex our hill?" she shouts over the noise. "That land is community space." I show her my deed, permits, the whole binder. She waves a folder with fake stamps, mutters about environmental zones and protected slopes. Meanwhile, her crew tears down everything. Pool gets smashed, water pouring everywhere. Grills ripped from the patio. It's like a fever dream. By the time the cops arrive, my yard looks like a war zone. Karen greets them like she's giving a tour, just an HOA enforcement. She chirps, shoving her own fake map at them. I show my papers to the officers. My property, my permits, all legal, surveyed twice. Karen twists her mouth, accuses me of fraud. Cops shrug, say it's civil, take it to court. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Karen just smiles, places a plastic stake in the dirt, and leaves a red tag reading, HOA boundary, do not remove. That's when I realized this wasn't just a turf war. It was personal. I called in the cavalry, Jenna, a property rights attorney I knew from my surveyor days. She comes out in heels and a fury, collects the paperwork, snaps photos, asks if I've got the whole paper trail. Binder's so thick you could use it as a doorstop, I say. She's impressed, but wants more, orders a new survey from a separate company, topographical maps, drone photos, the works. And while we wait, I start digging myself. Find that Karen's official map is nothing but a PDF on the HOA website, whipped up a month ago, labeled internal use only. She's drawing lines with Photoshop, not the law. When the new survey comes back, identical to the first, Jenna's livid. This isn't a mistake, she says. This is fraud. We file complaints, pile up evidence. I scour my security cameras, catch Karen sneaking onto my land, replacing my real boundary markers with her red-tagged fakes. We get a restraining order against her and her bulldozer crew. And then, twist, one of the contractors knocks on my door, nervous as a cat in a dog park. Didn't know it was your land, man. Karen paid cash, no permits. He hands over photos she'd made him take. Said it was for insurance. I'm stunned. She's been plotting the whole time, watching, building a case out of thin air. That week, glossy HOA flyers show up in everyone's mailbox. Photos of my destroyed backyard circled in red, big letters. Say no to backyard land grabs. My neighbors start looking at me like I stole their Christmas. But not all. One schoolteacher crosses the street, says, not all of us are with her. She's been a nightmare for years. Turns out, Karen's been running Sunrest Villas like her own kingdom for a while. Still, I need more than facts. I need spectacle. So I go big. For flagpoles on my true property line, Texas and U.S. flags flying, plus one that reads, private property, not part of Sunrest Villas. Yes, this means you, Karen. Trail cameras everywhere, solar spotlights, and a drone video overlaying GIS data and county parcel lines, showing the destruction. I upload it to Reddit. Headline: HOA I don't belong to bulldozed my backyard. Overnight, it goes viral. TikTok stitches, lawyers, realtors, HOA horror survivors, even a county clerk in Montana, all in my corner. My neighbors finally see the truth. Meanwhile, Jenna digs up leaked emails from inside the HOA. Turns out, Karen bullied her board into redrawing maps. Didn't even tell half of them my land was never in Sunrest. The final slap comes with a new environmental zone sign, bolted into my crushed patio, all to make her lie look legit. But I'm ready. Court day comes. Packed house, reporters, neighbors, even a couple cameras hiding in tote bags. Jenna's a force. Lays out everything, from the legal surveys to the security footage of Karen replacing markers, to the contractor's testimony and the HOA emails. Karen's lawyer tries to claim community harmony, but the judges had enough. You have no legal authority, no cause for demolition, no binding map, he says. He rules in my favor, slaps the HOA and Karen with damages, and refers the case for criminal charges. You'd think that'd be the end, right? Not with Karen. 3 days later, she files an appeal, says she bulldozed my yard out of stewardship. The appeals judge needs 15 minutes to shut it down, cites the Texas Constitution, says the HOA can't touch land outside their legal lines, names the whole mess Hardy versus Sunrest Villas. Next day, the stories in the papers, law journals, even the University of Texas wants to use it as a case study. Sunrest Villas unravels, board members resign, neighbors petition to dissolve the HOA. Karen's lawn dies in poetic solidarity. The new board apologizes, pays out over $1 million for damages, and rebuild. I put up a new wall, 10 feet, concrete, topped with a bronze plaque, private property. Trespassers will be prosecuted. On the outside, a mural of a bulldozer crashing into a cactus. The neighbors throw a party, mariachi, cookies shaped like bulldozers, shirts that say, "Know your line." It becomes a local legend. I even start a blog, help folks fight their own HOA nightmares. As for Karen, she slinks off one morning, leaves behind a dark house, a dead HOA, and a new legal precedent. Now, some nights, I sit under my rebuilt pergola, the breeze rattling the string lights, and I think back to that morning. The grind of the bulldozer, the look on Karen's face when the judge read the verdict. And I smile. Because sometimes, justice isn't quiet. Sometimes it's loud as hell, and everybody hears it. So let me ask you, where do you stand on the line between community and control? Would you fight, or just let it go? Tell me below, because after all this, I'm real curious what you'd do if the bulldozer showed up in your backyard.